Hello, good morning. Okay, so last class we had discussed vector spaces. Last two classes, what we had discussed vector spaces and subspaces, linearly independent and linearly dependent. So let's give some problems based on that vector spaces, subspaces, and then linearly independent and linearly dependent. Okay. Okay, one note is taking time, so let us now go back. Okay. So we had discussed the three topics. Okay, of course, we have discussed the earlier topics. We had given already tutorial sheet. Okay, we had given some problems for that, and now we'll give some more problems based on these three topics. One is that we have discussed what is the meaning of vector spaces. Vector spaces we have discussed, and second thing we have discussed subspaces. Subspaces, and then third topics we have discussed linearly independent. Linearly independent and linearly dependent. Linearly independent and linearly dependent. Okay. So based on these three topics, we'll give some problems. Maybe I'll call this is a tutorial 2. Okay, I just want to remind that this OneNote is updating, so I'm teaching in different this one platform. So this one I will upload. Okay, this one I will only today, only for today. Okay, so this sheet it will be uploaded in that Google Classroom. Okay, so let us look at some problems for your vector spaces and subspaces, and then the linearly independent set and linearly dependent set. Okay, so we'll give some problems for that. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, one example we had stated that Fn is a vector, means if you take V equal to Fn, means set of n tuples, that forms a vector space. Of course, you can easily verify that. Maybe we'll give that as a first problem. Okay, if F is a field, okay, if F is a field, if F is a field, verify that Fn is a vector space, is a vector space over F. Okay, and the vector addition scalar multiplication will define. Okay, that will recall that thing. Okay, vector addition scalar multiplication. Suppose we take alpha is equal to set of all n tuples x1 x2 etc xn, and then beta equal if you take y1 y2 will are yn. We'll take these two are vectors in Fn. Okay, these two are in Fn, or you can take as an Rn also. So then the vector addition scalar multiplication in order to discuss the vector space is alpha plus beta is equal to x1 plus y1, x2 plus y2, etc. xn plus yn. And similarly, C alpha is nothing but scalar multiplication. Okay, Cx1, Cx2, Cxn. Okay, so we have to verify that this is a vector space. So alpha is nothing but set of n tuples, and beta is also set of n tuple. Okay, alpha. Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So internet is gone, so I used my mobile network. Okay, anyway, it's fine. You're audible. If I'm able to teach something, it's okay. Okay, so this is the first problem. Okay, so that I hope you can verify that. Okay, so we'll give some more problems for vector spaces. Suppose we take this is a vector space. Okay, some particular conditions also one can verify. Okay, some particular conditions also one can ask. Suppose we are given like this. Okay, if V is a vector space over F, suppose vector space is given. V is a vector space. Okay, if V is a vector space over F, if V is a vector space over F, then verify that alpha 2 plus alpha okay, alpha 2 plus alpha 1 plus alpha 3 plus alpha 4 is same as it is a kind of associative property. Okay, I think you can easily verify that. It doesn't take much time. Okay, that's it, just one or two lines only. So this can be expressed as something like this: alpha 2 plus alpha 3 plus alpha 4 plus it should be alpha 1. Okay, so let us, I'm just writing an associative properties, nothing else. It will be true, but only thing is that we are just taking alpha 2 plus alpha 3 plus alpha 1 plus alpha 4. Okay, for all vectors alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4 is in V. Okay, for all vectors in V. Okay, so this you can just see that what are the properties you can use. Okay, so just see that the one thing is that v is a vector space is given to us. Okay, if v is vector space is given to us, now you can, if it is a vector space and whatever vectors you take, that will satisfy all those conditions. Okay, so by straightforward also you can try to see that it will satisfy the associative property under the additions, because v is given as a vector space, so you can directly straightforwardly you can use that v is a vector space, so it will satisfy associative property. So now you can just combine this alpha 1 plus alpha 2 plus alpha 3 separately, then plus alpha 4, then using that thing you can just directly you can write that. That's just one or two lines proof only. Okay, so now we define something like this. If you consider in R2, okay, V is nothing but a set of all pairs x comma y. V equal to R. I mean to say that we have a set of two tuples, okay, x comma y only. Okay, suppose we take, let V be the set of all pairs. We don't know if it is a vector space or not. We have to verify this is a vector space. Let V be the set of all pairs, x comma y of real numbers and let F be the field of real numbers. I mean real field. Okay, be the field of real numbers defined. We define like this: x comma y, two vectors. If you take x and y are one vector, and then x1 y1 is another vector, so that is nothing but an usual addition only. So we are going to write x plus x1, y plus y1, and then c of x comma y. See, this is very important. Okay, so this thing, that addition we are defining in that way only. So it can be defined in any way. One can define in any way. Only thing is that it should satisfy all those conditions. Now I am defining not cx comma cy. I am just defining cx comma y. Okay, if I have a c of x comma y, I'm just multiplying inside only with the operation c, sorry, with x. Okay, so that was c of x comma y. I'm defining in such a way that cx comma y. Now I have to see that it can have it can form a vector space or it can't form a vector space. Okay, that is that, for that will give an answer that you need to give an you know you need to verify those things. One more thing, one more hint I would like to say, that if you want to show is a vector space, you can verify all those conditions. Okay, but if, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, but if you want to show that something is not a vector space, then what you do, that you take some examples, some counter examples. So instead of taking x comma y, one can take two numbers also, 1 comma 2 you can take, plus 2 comma 4 you can take, and then you can see that, okay, we can see that it satisfies all those. At least if you are able to prove that one condition is not true, then you can directly say that it is not forming a vector space. Okay, but but if something is a vector space, it will satisfy whatever number you take, that will form a vector space, that is for sure. But to show something is not a vector space, you take a counter example, that is sufficient. For example, this case, this problem 3 is not a vector space. Okay, when you try to prove that it doesn't satisfy some of the conditions, so for that you don't need to verify all those 9 or 8 or 9 conditions. You can give some counter example. Okay, so that you can just directly conclude that this is not a vector space, this will never form a vector space. So now the question is that, is v with these operations, a vector space over f. This is the question. Okay, is v is a vector space with under these operations, okay, over the field of real numbers or not? That is what you have to see. You can little we can little bit modify this exercise, this three. Okay, so we'll little bit modify this, and then again if you take something else also in place of y, I'm just replacing that as something else. Okay, suppose let us have this problem also. This is also not a vector space. You can try this also. I'm just writing this as a fourth problem. Similarly, let B be a vector space. Okay, not a vector space. You have to verify that. Okay, let B be the set of pairs x comma y of real numbers, and f be the field of real numbers, field of real numbers define
And
x
x
comma
comma
y,
y, x comma y
plus
plus
x1
x1
comma
comma
y1,
y1,
x comma y plus x1 comma y1 is same as, now it is defined. Okay, so as I told you, this can be given in any way. So only thing is that we need to just see that this is x plus x1 comma 0. Okay, and then c of x comma y, this is x comma y is defined by cx comma 0. Now you see that the addition is defined in this way: x comma y plus x1 comma y1 is defined in such a way that x comma y, but what we are taking, that y plus y1 will be a 0. So instead of y plus y1, earlier case we have defined y plus y1, but here we are taking as a 0. Okay, that is how it is defined. That is how it is defined. So now c of x comma y is equal, okay, and then cx comma 0. We are not writing a cy. Okay, so of course this should never form a vector space, because you can given any kind of examples. Okay, you take any two examples, a comma b, and then here you take two students. So this will never satisfy this equation. So this is not going to satisfy vector space. So now the question is that you have to see that, but you have to give a counter example for that. Is v with this operation, these operations, a vector space? Okay, is v with these operations a vector space or not? Okay, so these four problems I'm just giving for a vector space. Okay, so four different problems. I think the first one is a vector space. The second one, you have to just verify the associative properties. And third and fourth property is not a vector space. Okay, it is not a vector space. So next we'll give some problems for subspaces. Okay, now I'm just writing as a fifth problem. Uh, okay, so we'll give this problem. Okay, which of the following set of vectors? Which of the following? Which of the following set of vectors alpha is equal to, we'll say it is an a1, a2, etc. an, which belongs to Rn. Okay, which of the vectors alpha is in Rn are subspaces of Rn. Okay, that means B equal to Rn here. Okay, n is bigger than or equal to 3. The minimum condition is n is bigger than or equal to 3. So which are the following set of vectors? So the set is defined in this way. The first thing is that all alpha such that a1 is bigger than or equal to 0, the first condition. Okay, positive. So so you have to see that whether it satisfies it forms a subspaces or not. All alpha such that it will satisfy only this a1 first quantity. Okay, a1 must be positive. And second, all alpha such that it satisfies this equation. Let us take a1 plus 3 times a2 is equal to a3. So this is just nothing, because you see a1 is given as we'll take alpha. Okay, alpha is something but what? A1, A2, A3, etc. An. But only thing is that now An can be expressed as A3 minus 3 times of A2. Okay, A3 minus 3 times of A2. So now again you will have to see that whether this satisfies certain conditions or not. Of course, I think the first and two both are not subspaces. Okay, so first and two both are not subspaces. At least one of the properties will not satisfy. Achha, one more observation we can make it out here. If something is called subspaces, it must be a vector space also. Okay, it must be a vector space also. But only thing is that we don't need to verify all those 8 conditions. That is what we stated. At least that 4 conditions should be there. That additive inverse, and then that associative law with respect to that addition, and then if you take two vectors, alpha plus beta must be in that vector. All those 4 conditions at least must satisfy. Okay, or other way of saying that if one of the conditions are not satisfied in case of the vector space also, that may not form a subspaces. That is another way of concluding that. Okay, so maybe the hint, the solution will be 1 and 2 are not subspaces, are not subspaces. Okay, so that you verify. So maybe we can give this problem maybe as a sixth problem. Problem 6 will give, let B be the vector space. Let B be the vector space. Vector space of all functions. All functions. F is from R to R. F is from R to R. Now the question is that okay. So okay, F is from R to R. Which of the following set of functions? Which of the following? Which of the following set of functions are subspaces of V. Okay. Again, we will give something like that. That earlier thing, it will satisfy certain conditions. So then we have to just see that based on these conditions whether that forms a subspaces or not. Okay. All F such that f of x square equal to f of x square is equal to, okay, f of x square is equal to f of x the whole square. See, the f you take, whatever f you take, that will satisfy this condition. Suppose you fix a f equal to f of x equal to x, so it will satisfy this condition. F of x equal to x means, okay, okay, but in order to verify the subspaces, you have to take two different functions, right? Two different functions if you take, let's say f comma g, if you take, f will also satisfy this condition, g also will satisfy this condition. Now we have to see that what about their combination? I mean linear combination, whether it will be also same as this. If that is so, then you can say that it is a subspaces. That is the required of this condition. Okay, f of x square equal to f of x the whole square. You take those two functions. Those two functions will satisfy this. And what about their addition? That is the question. Okay, so maybe we can give this as second problem. Okay, all f such that, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all f such that we can give this problem f of minus 1 equal to 0. Okay, so this is once again, this is I think the first one may not form a subspace, that you have to see. The first one is not a form, but second one is a subspace, because if you take two functions again, f of minus 1, f and g, that both will satisfy this condition. F of minus 1 will be 0, g of minus 1 will be 0. Their addition will be f of minus 1 plus g of minus 1, again it is 0, because 0 plus 0, that is again 0. So I think the second one form is subspace. We can give some problems for related to matrices also as a subspaces, and then we'll give a problem for linear independent dependent. Let us take this exercise. Let f be a field. Let f be a field, and let n be a positive integers which is bigger than or equal to 2. Okay, it will be a bigger than or equal to 2. Let b be a vector space. Let b be the vector space of all n by n matrices over f. Okay, let V be the vector space of all n by n matrices over F. Now the question is that which of the following sets set of matrices A in V, okay, which of the following set of matrices A in V are subspaces of V? Okay, so V be the field of, let F be any field, okay, or maybe here it is not mentioned, but it is a real set of all real numbers only. Okay, inside the matrix we'll take all entries are real only. Let f be the field and n is the positive integers. Okay, and v be a vector space of all n by n matrices over f. Okay, suppose you fix n equal to 2, that is a 2 by 2 matrices, and then n equal to 3, it is a 3 by 3 matrices. I mean, that's a square matrices. And then which of the following set of matrices A in V, okay, so you take some of the matrices in A and whether that forms a subspaces or not. Okay, so we'll give one or two problems in that. So one thing is that similarly we'll take all invertible matrix. Can you verify that whether all invertible matrices form a subspaces? All invertible matrices. Okay, all invertible matrix A. Second that all A such that, I mean, whatever matrix A you consider, it should satisfy this condition. A square equal to A. So just verify that you take two matrices. Okay, any two matrices you take some counter example, because first you see that whether it will satisfy or not. Okay, any two examples you take, and then you see that whether okay, whether that forms a subspaces or not. Okay, that is the thing, you have to just see that. Now let us look at some problems for linear independent and linear dependent. Okay, so next problem is that problem number 8. Are the vectors let's say alpha 1 is 1 comma 1 comma 2 comma 4, alpha 2 as 2 comma minus 1 comma minus 5 comma 2, and then we'll take alpha 3 as 1 comma minus 1 comma minus 4 comma 0, and alpha 4 as 2 comma 1 comma 1 comma 6. Okay, so these four vectors we are taking, so alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, and alpha 4. Now you have to see that set of vectors alpha 1 and alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4 are linearly independent or not. Okay, so now the question is that are these vectors are linearly independent or not? Linearly independent. Linearly independent in R4 or not? That's the question. Okay, so as usual, like yesterday, as we have discussed, that we need to just verify that combination. You take those four combinations, and then you just see that whether this C1, C2, C3, C4 values are zero. If all those C1, C2, C3, C4 values are zero, then one can say that is a linearly independent. Otherwise, one of the CIs are not equal to zero, then you can say it is a linearly dependent. Okay, so that you can do that. And there are other ways also. I think from matrix approach also one can go for it. That is up to you. Like whatever book you follow, you can do that. We can have this example. Find three vectors in R3. Find three vectors in R3 which are linearly independent, which are linearly dependent, which are linearly dependent, and as such are such that are such that any two of them are linearly independent. Okay, so suppose you choose what you want to consider. You have to consider three vectors v1, v2, v3. Okay, so we have to consider three vectors. So three vectors means all these three vectors must be linearly dependent. Okay, first thing is that all these three vectors must be linearly dependent, but at least you have to make sure that at least any two of them are linearly independent. Suppose it can happen that v1 and v2 are linearly dependent. Okay, any two of them only. Any two of them only. So V1, V2 are linearly dependent, and it can happen that V2 and V3 are linearly dependent, or V3, V1 are linearly dependent, and V3, V1 are also linearly dependent. But it can, of course, it cannot happen that all of them are linearly dependent to each other, because then if that is so, there is a linearly dependent vectors. So that is we don't want that. We want something like that. There are three vectors which are linearly dependent, but you need to find out in such a way that three vectors are linearly dependent, but any two of them are must be linearly dependent vectors. That you have to find it out from examples.
Sir, 1 comma 0 comma 0, 0 comma 1 comma 0, and 1 comma 1 comma 0.
Yeah, any such example you can find out. Yes, correct. That is okay. Yes. One more problem we'll give. So then I will just. Okay, we'll give some problems for based on your matrix approach also. Okay, you can just try that. This is the problem number 10. Determine whether the following the following sets the following sets are linearly dependent are linearly dependent. Okay, so we'll give something. Okay, the first thing we'll give a matrices. Suppose both of them are matrices only. I'm going to give. We are given 2 by 2 matrices. We have a 1 minus 3. Okay, 1 minus 3 minus 2 4, 1 minus 3 minus 3 4, and then we'll give minus 2 6 minus 2 6, 4 minus 8. So this 2 by 2 matrices we have given. This is, let's say this is now vector 1 and this is now vector 2. Okay, so both of them are 2 by 2. So this is a vector in 2 by 2 matrix notation. We are just giving matrix with respect to 2 by 2 in real entries. So we'll just write this is the notation. So we can change change these numbers also and matrix numbers also. Again, one can see that because it can happen that some of them are independent or some of them are dependent. So we'll give some different example also. So we'll change the entries now. One, here it is minus 2, 1 minus 2. Okay, and minus 1 4, 1 minus 2, and then you have a minus 1 4. You have a minus 1 4, and then you have minus 1 1, and then 2 minus 4. Okay, so 1 minus 2 minus 1 4 minus 1 1 2 minus 4. Okay, so in M2, okay, in 2 by 2 matrices of 1. Okay, again we'll give set of vectors in usual way. We'll take 1 minus 1 2. This might be dependent, but anyway you can verify that. 2 0 1 minus 1 2 minus 1 in R3. Okay, so the first two two are matrices, and then the other example is that's the usual way you have to consider. Okay, for this case also you have to consider that combination only. Okay, for this case also you have to consider combination. For this also you have to consider combination only, and then the the right hand side entry must be 2 by 2 matrices. that should be of having a form of 0 0 0 0, means okay, that is the zero matrix. You need to consider in terms of the matrix form. And and you see that each entries of whatever you multiply with constant times of that forms a 0 or not, that you have to see that. Okay, so it is not a big thing to verify, because you just see that if it is a dependent means you can able to write one vector in terms of the other vector, but if it is an independent means it is independent to each other. None of them can be expressed as a linear combination of the other vectors. So those things that can be easily verified. Okay, so all these problems, whatever problem we have given today, okay, it's not very difficult to analyze. Like whatever the definitions and then the properties are given, you can just straightforwardly you can just try to verify uh, these examples. I hope you can just give a try and all these problems. Okay, so next week we are going to talk about something is called uh, basis. As I told you that now after subspaces we are going to discuss basis, and then spanning set. If something is so okay, vector space is given to us, and then how do you find the spanning set? Okay, so spanning set will satisfy those two conditions. It is a linear independent set, and then it will be forming that any vector if you take that can be expressed as a linear combination of those vectors. That is the thing we are going to discuss in next class next week. And once you have a spanning set, and then you have this linear combination basis, you can discuss the dimension. Okay, the dimension usually we speak in terms of the real numbers, that is different dimension. But in the vector space, if you want to say something is called a dimension, that you say the number of elements in the basis. Okay, so suppose something is form a basis, you take a three vectors, let's say v1 and v2 v3. v1 v2 v3 form a basis, then you can say that the number of elements in the basis is 3, since the dimension of the vector space is 3. So here we are going to speak about the dimension of the vector space, that is independent of the dimension what we know earlier. Okay, so that dimension is different. That dimension is the real line, and then plane, and then the three dimensions x, y, z. That is different from the dimension what we are going to speak here. So this terminology is different. In the linear algebra, the dimension meaning is different. Okay, so based on those concepts, we are going to analyze and what is that basis, and what is that dimension, what is that linear combination. All those things can be discussed. And one more thing, why you want to discuss these concepts? As I told you earlier, if you take any two subspaces and their dimension can be found by using all these concepts. If you take two subspaces and then let's say W1, W2, if you take, and their dimensions can be independently also find it out, and then their addition of those two subspaces and their corresponding dimensions also can be calculated. Okay, so maybe some of the higher level research you may require to find out the dimension of some systems, or some dimension of any linear equations or something like that. If you want, then you can first of all you can see that whether it forms the subspaces or not, and then from the subspaces one can able to find it out. It is what was the dimension of that. Okay, so there it might be useful. That is the main advantage of this chapter. Like we shall be finally we'll end up with this chapter with that we'll finding out the dimension of two subspaces. Okay, so because this theorem is very important, based on these theorems only we'll be dealing in the second chapter. We'll discuss the linear transformations and linear operators, and there we should also discuss something is called a rank nullity theorem. Okay, so that rank nullity theorem is basically connected to this dimension property only. Okay, that is completely depending upon your dimension only, because the rank is depending upon, once again, that we know that usual matrices we shall be finding out the number of non-zero rows. That's not exactly the same, but it will be a kind of a similar. Their dimension is something different. Okay, so based on this theorem only, this dimension theorem, what we are going to prove in next week. So that is connected to your rank theorem. And using rank nullity theorem, one can able to find out the dimension of your rank, and then what was the rank of the matrices, rank of the operator is given. You can even find it out nullity of the operator. So those two concepts also can be easily derived from these concepts. Okay, so with this conclusion, I'll just conclude this, and this tutorial sheet I will upload in that Google Classroom, because that today that was not working. So I'll update this. Okay, I'll download this as a PDF file. This can be downloaded as a PDF file, and then just upload there. And one more thing, before exam, we will have two quizzes. Maybe I'll just, after completion of linear transformation, we'll have one quiz. Maybe then we'll have, before exam we'll have another quiz, and similarly once mid exam over, before final exam we'll have two quizzes. So there are four quizzes we have to conduct. Okay, so these tutorial problems will be useful for that, so you can refer those tutorial problems, and each of them will be of having a marks 10. Of course, you have seen the last semester also. Last semester also we had discussed, means we have conducted four quizzes, and similar way we can do it. Okay, anything you would like to ask?